Turf Talk with Drew Miller.
On this episode of Tiger Turf Talk, we host Mr. Phil Mahr, Territory Manager for E-Landscape Specialty Services based out of Annapolis, Maryland. This is such a great podcast. Phil's a good friend of mine. We used to work for the Pittsburgh Steelers together, and he just gave some great insight on sort of his experience, even with him at such a young age, at the age of 23, of how he found his love in sports turf, and through hard work and through making connections with the right people and using those connections to make the next step, to where he has now found a newfound love in landscaping, where he is currently heading the maintenance department of E-Landscaping. He's truly showing our kids the importance of what is important in your life and to pursue something that makes you happy and really just embrace what life has for you and what you can do with it. And truly knowing Phil and where he started in Pittsburgh, like he said, it was his first internship at a high level, and how he grew to the point where he is now, where he is pretty much running the show when it comes to everything maintenance for this company, discussing all the different aspects and all the different groupings of different types of jobs, and working to develop more and more through business management, turf care, lawn care, hardscapes, and all these different aspects. It is just incredible to see how much he's grown and how far he's come, and really just a really great guy. We can't thank him enough, and it was such a fantastic episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tiger Turf Talk. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 28th episode of Tiger Turf Talk. Today we have a really good friend of mine, Mr. Phil Mahr, the Territory Manager for E-Specialty Landscape Services. How you doing today, bud?
Good, Drew. How are you?
Oh, another day, hoping that we're back to normal sooner rather than later. But
I hear you.
So we actually met because we used to be co-workers for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in, it was 2016?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You were there a couple more summers than me, so you probably got mixed up.
Yeah,
but,
they all blend together.
What I was curious about, because you actually came in I think it was like a month into the summer at that point, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
What was it that sort of brought you to sports turf, and how did you sort of pursue that when you were starting off in college?
Yeah. So I kind of stumbled upon sports turf. I didn't really know it existed. I mean, I knew it existed. I didn't know really how to get into the industry. I've grown up a big sports fan. Obviously, the first thing you notice, you go to a Major League Baseball game, the field, right? So I knew it existed. I had always had an interest in the landscape side of things. My dad was always big working around the house. I was I liked the physical labor aspect to it. I was just always kind of helping out around the house doing landscaping. So I had an interest in it from being a small, little kid. And then as I graduated high school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, man. School. I liked school. I enjoyed school. I made good grades. But I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I didn't know if college was right for me. I didn't know what direction to go. I had a couple friends go construction union, things of that sort, which I had interest in. But I went to visit a couple schools just for the heck of it. Saw Pittsburgh downtown, saw Penn State. And again, I went to Pitt, didn't have a dang clue what I wanted to do. Didn't really want to go to college in the city. And I went to Penn State, and I just looked at a list of, while I was on the tour, looked at a list of, programs that they had to offer. And my mom actually came across one and said, look at this one, turf grass science. So I went to a couple like ag ones while we were there that day, just to hear people talk. And I think Diane, the dean of the program, was speaking that day, and I was hooked from the presentation. So obviously Penn State as a whole pulled me in right away. I was sold on the school. I only applied to one college, man. That was it. I put in one application. It's just, if ever going to send it, see what happens. And thankfully I got in. That's where my journey began. It was, I guess it was the summer after my freshman year, I ended up with the Steelers. I had taken a small job through a career fair up there with a smaller landscape company back home. Things just didn't work out there, and I'd actually had planned to come home for a semester and do a semester at a Penn State branch closer to home my sophomore year. And I wanted to do an internship paired with that since I'd be living at home. Thought I'd have more time, you know. So I wanted to get into the sports field industry at that point in time. So I had tried calling around, sending around my resume a little bit. Didn't really know how to get in touch with those guys. I had a cousin, my mom's cousin was an independent contractor, did some work for the Steelers at the time, and I had done kind of like a little job shadow for a project freshman year with him. And he had a relationship with Chris just from doing small jobs contract wise through him. And he said, why don't I put you in touch with him? Just see what happens. At the same time, I had been working with the Beaver Stadium guys up at Penn State. We can talk about all that later if you want. But they kind of had a direct in with Chris as well. So it was just right time, right place. I actually called Chris like on a Friday and was like, "Hey man, I know. Are you looking for guys for the fall?" We set it up that I was going to work there all fall, and then when things went south in the summer at the landscape company, I had called him, and I think an intern had just left. Nolan had just left. I think you had been there maybe a month before that, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we need help." So I went down there, and the next day I ended up starting work, I think. So that's kind of how I got in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember him talking about how you had a landscape job, and that it was perfect timing because Nolan was supposed to come in. And I know Nolan had been there 2 years already with Billy.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then I was getting pulled left and right with the Pirates. So it really was perfect timing with all of that.
Mhm.
And this isn't part of what we had, but the networking that what you were talking about in there, having knowing someone that knew someone, could you sort of speak to how, like with that, how that changed sort of the pathway of what you were hoping for and how it sort of impacted even up until this point in your career,
Yeah, for sure. I think networking is probably one of the biggest parts of this industry, any industry. Just in life in general, I think it's all about who you know. You should never be afraid to be out there by yourself. The more people you know, the more connections, the more people you can rely on, the better off you are in life, just in general. But especially in this industry, it's a small, tight network. I think a lot of guys, know each other, know kind of the processes that they go through on a day-to-day basis, how they do things. There's a lot of not politics, but I guess in a way politics, between all the guys. So it's a tight knit group. I think there's a lot of good connections there. A lot of people have worked, via somebody else somewhere along the line, and there's a history between all of them. So having a network, is huge and can helped me in a lot of ways. It still is to this day.
Absolutely. And it was funny because I thought about it when you were talking. It was Jay came in later that summer with the same sort of connection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's pretty great. Before moving on, could you sort of speak to the kids about what it's like to work on an NFL grounds crew and sort of working with Chris and the boys and sort of your perspective on, again, being there during the heart of the season and everything taking effect in front of you and learning sort of on that job?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super cool. I mean, I loved it. I loved all maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long I was there. I had a flexible schedule, which was good with those. They were flexible with me as far as my schedule went, still being in school, working summers, holidays, game days, weekends, all that stuff. There's a lot that goes in that not a lot of people know about. That's something I enjoyed. I always like seeing something go from point A to point B, in terms of the field, things like that. A lot of football fans turn on the TV at 1 p.m. on Sunday, watch the game and turn it off, and they don't see, the other 7 days a week that go into making that happen. Not just the field guys, all the other people in the stadium, the TV networks, the coaches, there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you get to, the highest, most elite level of the National Football League. So really cool. I enjoyed the industry. I also enjoyed sports just growing up. So to be that close and up front with it, was awesome. I learned a ton. That's where 99% of my experience came from right off the bat. I've been able to work for a lot of people along the way that have all taught very beneficial stuff. But working with Chris, I actually worked for Mr. Billy. Me and Chris worked for Billy, but it was awesome. I couldn't ask for any more. The first day there, I didn't know a dang thing about turf science, but I was willing to work hard, and I just said, "What do you want me to do?" And just was ready to learn right off the bat. Chris couldn't have been any better. First day there, I hopped on a sprayer. Billy was like, "Hey man, can you drive straight?" And I said, "Yep, think so." He said, "Push this button and let her go." So here I was, I don't know, 18 years old, just hopped on a sprayer at the South Side one day. But as far as experience goes, they were always very hands-on, let everybody, have a part in what we did. Very, explained everything we did, why we did it. I learned a ton from those guys, and I had a great time doing it. They're still some of my best friends. From work and just in life in general. I couldn't have asked for much more. It set me up for a great career, and I couldn't ask for much more.
That sounds great. As a recent graduate of Penn State's turf program, could you explain what the program's like and how it could help benefit our students that would be looking to go to Penn State or another turf program like that?
Yeah, man, absolutely. There's a lot of good turf programs out there. Being biased, Penn State, I think, has got the best one. They say, "Yep, for success, it's world renowned." The professors up there are like none other. And not just that, like I said, touch on from before, the networking. You're in good hands up there. Just about everybody, can find an internship right away. I think that, during college, and then the job success rate out of there is like no other, as a college in general, let alone the turf program. That we have a very successful 2-year degree, associate's degree that a lot of kids go through, the world campus, and then the 4-year bachelor's degree, whether you come from a branch campus or at the main campus. I started at a branch campus. I started small. I took all my gen eds and whatnot, and then I kind of ran out of stuff to take there. So they sent me up to the main campus, and that's where it all happens. The Turf Research Center, and then the job opportunities up there as well. Working with the Beaver Stadium guys, to take care of all the stadiums and fields at Penn State. Even the baseball guys, worked with Matt Neary for 4 years up there. As far as the classes go, such a wide range. It really, really sets you up for success. They're doing a great job. When you start at 235, Turf 235 with Dr. McNaid all the way through. I don't even know what some of the last classes are. They all have a couple different levels, but from your irrigation classes to soil classes to just the whole range of turf, nutrient management, all those guys. There's a lot of excellent opportunities up there. It's a school like, no other. If you enjoy big atmosphere, I was a big time sports guy, having, football games and stuff like that. Being able to work, I worked a little bit on the grounds crew up there, for a couple different guys, for Herb, for Matt Neary. Just try to get as much experience as I could. But, I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it to any one of you guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you need a degree to get through the rest of life, but it gives you a huge upper hand when you get out there to look for a job, just having that piece of paper. And it's more than just a piece of paper. You really earn it there. And there's a lot of great opportunity.
Absolutely. And I love how you guys have just specific to turf. You know what I mean? Like at Tech.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Virginia Tech and I'm a Hokie ride or die, but the pathology that I took was for everything. You guys took turf pathology. I think that lends a big upper hand to other turf managers when you talk about going after jobs and having that knowledge more based in the turf side. Obviously, we worked with different professors, but again, I think that's awesome about your guys' program. With your career and sort of where you're at now with landscaping, how did your degree help prepare you obviously you worked on a bunch of different parts of the grounds crew, whether it was with the Spikes or with Beaver Stadium. Um, where have you used sort of your degree to get to where you are now with e-landscaping?
Yeah, sure. I kind of took a change in career path. You could say that it's still within the industry, but it's really a big jump from landscape, what I'm doing now, to turf management. I don't know if I decided one day that I wanted to make the jump or how it all panned out. When I graduated college, I had applied for a wide range of jobs, turf management jobs, parks and rec, landscape. I kind of set my range from the DC area all the way back to Pittsburgh, and just see what's out there. And that's part of the importance of having a degree, is being able to have versatility and things of that nature. Penn State, touching back on your last question, as far as like supporting classes go, just to turf as well. Chris told me one thing when I got there, and it kind of stuck with me. He's like, when people find out that you know about the grass, they're going to want to know everything else about, being outside their house, landscape, trees, shrubs, the whole deal. So learn as much as you can. So some of the agronomy classes and horticulture and all of that that were supporting the turf were a big help too. And, I never thought I'd be identifying trees and shrubs this morning, but here I am. So having that degree and that wide range and that versatility certainly helped. I applied for a job down here in the Maryland area, right down pretty close to Annapolis. Found a smaller company, family owned, place I love now. It just kind of worked out. It was right out, I was actually still in college, so I graduated with a job. Had a few months to finish out school, knowing I had a job going into graduation. I knew it was going to be a change of pace. It was an interesting opportunity. Nobody had this job position prior to me, so it was kind of open-ended. I saw a lot of potential in the company, a lot of room to grow, just good people right off the bat. And, it was just something new to try. And, I walked in, and I think even throughout my first year, I definitely missed the turf management and sports aspect of things. But I learned to love what I'm doing now, especially the people I work with. And, the rest has been history. I just passed something going on 2 years already, and it's flying. So,
what has been your whole journey through the industry, and how do you think that you found yourself in Maryland, not doing anything not as closely related to turf grass as you would think, if you get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for sure. It's interesting. I guess I started, when I made the decision to go to Penn State, my freshman year when I was at Penn State Altoona. I had been at something, I guess, via one of our ag classes. Had a guest speaker. Was a guy who he was the head groundskeeper over at the Altoona Curb Stadium, double A affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it was like walking distance from the campus, and I didn't have anything better to do in Altoona, really. So I was looking for just something to do, something career related. I went over one night, and McLean Murphy was the groundskeeper over there. Super good guy. He was a young guy in the industry. He was from down south up here, hunting one of his first couple jobs. He said, "Hey man, can't pay you right now. We got a full staff, but any night you want to come, job shadow, help the crew out, kind of deal, be my guest. We can get you a food voucher, get up there and get a burger while you work or something. But it's just experience." And I took it and ran with it. It was something fun to do. That's how I got right into baseball, that was my first glimpse of turf management. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And then as I was working there, I had then transferred up to the main campus up at University Park, about a half hour away. And I kind of used those guys as a reference. I kind of just used each person I worked for as a reference, and just built and built and built all the way up to where I was today. So I had called Herb and the guys up at the Beaver Stadium grounds crew and said, "Hey man, I'm at a satellite campus 30 minutes away. I'm interested in working for you guys. Are you looking for any help?" They were, as they are every semester. I ran up and did an interview with Herb, and back to the connections thing. I had actually played baseball for a guy in high school, just through American Legion on the side, who happened to be, and I didn't even know at the time, a Toro rep. And that was Herb's Toro rep for the Beaver Stadium grounds crew. And when I found that out, I put him on a reference. It was just a Toro rep. It was Mark Dargay. He called Herb and said, "Hey, I coached Phil a long time ago. Good kid, get him in there." And right away, Herb said, "Let's just do it over the phone." Got your backstory and all that. So that was just using somebody I had known. I had McLean, who I worked for a little bit in Altoona, on there. And then I just started working for Herb. I added him to the resume. Had a great experience up there. I think I worked there for maybe a semester or two. At Beaver Stadium. Their crew covers everything from football field, soccer field, IM field, softball, lacrosse, the bulk of the campus. So I worked with those guys for a while. And then that's kind of where we started the show, where I had made the jump down to Pittsburgh. I'd used those first 3-4 guys, put them on a resume, got in touch through Beaver Stadium with Chris at the Steelers. Ended up being there for, I think initially I had planned to maybe try the Steelers and maybe try the Pirates, maybe try golf, something like that. And I never wanted to leave once I got to Pittsburgh. So then I used all those guys. I had then since switched over to working at the baseball stadium while in school. So I started working for Matt Neary at States College Spikes. Stadium's on campus, but baseball is their own, affiliate. They have their own crew over there. So I worked for Matt for, I think, the last 3 years of college. One of the best guys I ever worked for. Again, similar to Chris, learned a ton there. It was a nice change of pace, baseball to football. And then, at the end of the day, I graduated with a degree from, one of the best turf schools in the world. I had a ton of references. I met a ton of people along the way, aside from all those guys. And then, when I applied for the job at eLandscape, I thought I had a pretty polished resume, and I got the job right away. It worked out great.
Polished would be an understatement, probably. The amount of places you've worked. So
I don't know. Yeah.
No, for sure. And I love how you keep bringing up how everybody sort of, again, it grew to the point where you are today. Something I want to sort of tie into with that. Again, when we were working for Chris and Billy and Andy and all those guys, I think the biggest thing that we had was just, it was a really good group of guys, and we all knew each other well, and we, again, the camaraderie and everything that sort of developed over time. And again, people were like added in. Even Nolan was sort of like an add-on because he was there and then he left and then he came back. Could you sort of speak to how the sort of chemistry between a crew, even where you're working now, is crucial sort of to the success and the development of a business / grounds crew?
Yeah, it's crucial, and it's everything, man. Dr. McNitt told us, like, the first day of turf, she's like, you're going to learn all about grass and all this good stuff. But when you get a job someday, 95% of what you do is going to be people. The other 5 is going to be the industry and the actual science behind it. And boy, were they right. From every job I've worked at, the camaraderie between the crew is definitely important. In anything you do, especially when you're in the line of physical labor, stuff like that too, just, helping each other out, and just having fun while you're at work. It was a smart group of guys. A lot of people knew what they were doing, that you could have trust in. I think being a boss, like Chris, and having people he could trust a lot of satellite places that we maintained was a huge thing. Like when I worked with Matt, we had built a good enough relationship up there that in the fall, I mean, I was a college kid, a junior in college, and he would just take a week's vacation in the fall, and I would help him run the stadium with the guys. Where I'm working now more than ever, the teamwork is essential. We have, I think, maybe 15 people in the office now, and everybody wears a million different hats, but everybody relies on everybody. And if someone down the line doesn't do their job or doesn't communicate, things can derail kind of fast. But luckily, we have a great group of people at eLandscape where I work now. That's probably my favorite thing about the job. It's easy to work with people. It just makes sure. I think can you hear me? I think my headphones died. Give me 1 second.
We can still hear you if you.
How about that?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it. And you just got to like going to work, man. It's the bulk of your day. You wake up, go to work, you eat, sleep, work. Hopefully have some free time to enjoy, when the day is over. But you got to like what you do, and we do. It's easy to work hard for the people that are there in the office each day, and it goes full circle. So it's huge.
Absolutely. So the last time you and I talked, I think I called you, but you were working on installing lights in a neighborhood outside of Annapolis. And I with the small company, and again, you're talking about 15 people, what are the different services that you are providing and working with your clients in the greater Baltimore area?
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing installing lights, but I think I was working on an outdoor lighting proposal or something of that.
It was something along the lines with that.
Yeah, probably.
You were driving around a neighborhood, like, yeah, there's one over here, one over there.
Yeah. So essentially, my position is I manage the maintenance division of the company. We kind of have two sides. The bulk of our business, probably 90% of our business, has always been construction, landscape construction, which is new install at either a renovated place or a new building. And then we have a maintenance team who's always been in place, just hasn't really been grown to the size of the construction side. So they hired a new position to run the maintenance division, and I kind of just started from scratch. We had some existing clients, we had an existing team in place, very small scale, and then they just kind of gave me the opportunity to run with it and see what we could do. So I've been over the past 2 years just building a whole kind of new side of the business, and it's been great. That was something intriguing in the job offer, was just the openness. No cap on what the job detail was, or how big we could grow the division, things like that. So it's been a lot of groundwork to get it up and running. This is kind of my first clean year. Aside from everything that happened last year and all that, we're on a good path. January 1 this year to kind of see where things go. So day to day, I manage those guys. We all wear a lot of hats there. As far as services I offer in my division, just your routine landscape maintenance, your mowing, your edging, your weeding, pruning, your fertilizers, mulching, spring, fall cleanup, irrigation, service of the system if they got one, annuals. And then the cool thing is I get to do a lot of enhancements as well. That's a big part of my revenue. So we do things on a smaller scale than install will do, but a little small retaining wall here, a planting enhancement, some outdoor lighting, things like that. In our name, we're eLandscape Specialty Solutions, so we'll try to say yes to just about anything we can do. It makes us competitive, which is good. So I think the first year I worked there, I did just about something different every single day, which is good. It keeps change of scenery, change of pace. It's been going great.
Yeah, you sent me a snap today with sort of all your tools heading out, prepping. So this is the first year of like the full on maintenance division, and you're heading it.
No, so we've had a maintenance division in place for, I don't know, a lot of years, I guess, but just very small scale. Whether it was some of our existing client, we had a small portfolio open with a couple different clients, whether it was residential or some pro bono stuff. We tried to stick to all commercial work, but we never had really. I think when I got there, we had about 40 some clients, which is a good amount for commercial. It wasn't a ton of revenue. We had a small crew in place, maybe 6 or 7 guys, maintaining all those properties.
but we really made a structure to the division, and now had kind of a face for it, someone to answer to clients and help with, scale the business. So I have a lead foreman who's great with all the day-to-day stuff with all the guys, and then I can take the pressure off of him from the computer work, the estimating, the bidding, things like that, the customer relations, and customer service side of things, the sales side of things. That's kind of more of the task that I took on. So we have had the division in place for a little while, not at this scale. We're in a much better place now, I think. Last year, right off the bat, things kind of really got jumbled, and last year we just tried to stay afloat, man. So finally this year, the budget's in place, the clients are in place. Kind of weeding out some of not the bad ones, but trying to find some better contracts to work with. Like you just mentioned, I had the capacity now to get some new mowers and things added to the fleet, the tools we need. We're all about trying to be efficient as we're at all of our stops. And part of that is having the right equipment, the right guys, the right crew structure. It really comes down to the end of the day. What's their contract price? What are you getting out of it? Are you efficient when you're there? Do you have profits? Is the client happy? Do you have to spend a little more to pull the client in? There's a lot of things involved in that side and the relationship with the client. So we're finally, I feel like, in a pretty good place this year, a place where now we can expand and scale the business versus just kind of survive with the people we had, the tools we had, the guys we had. So we're ready to roll for 2021.
That's good to hear that the business is becoming more successful. Could you please discuss your favorite part of the job and what you focus on in the company? I know you already touched on it, but could you maybe go farther into detail?
Yeah. My favorite thing is probably just the change of pace. I always said I never wanted to have a desk job. I watched my dad work at his desk for the past 30 some years. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it. It's beautiful outside. I always wanted to work outside, be hands-on, physical labor-esque, and I kind of sided away from that as I left the turf industry. The turf was a ton of hands-on labor, and don't get me wrong, I loved it. It was a lot of hours, and I didn't mind it as being, in college and all that. And, I kind of looked at it as it was more of a lifestyle choice almost for me, kind of having more of like a 9-to-5 type job versus, sporadically working, all the time. So I enjoy having structure, I guess, to my day. That's just how I operate. I'm say 9 to 5. I'm now at my hours are I don't know, anywhere from 6 to 3, 4, something like that. I like the different aspects of the job. Like I said, I'm not chained to a desk all the time. I have, my fair share of computer work to do. And then, I'm out in the field a lot, managing, helping the guys, meeting with clients, meeting people. I'm a people person. I just love meeting new people, having a relationship with them, doing business with people. And there's a lot of change of pace. Some days I could be out there helping the guys lay out plans for an enhancement. Some days I could be selling a contract to somebody. Some days I could be at the office with everybody. I do something different just about every day. So I think that's what I enjoy the most. The people, for sure, the change of pace, and just kind of having the opportunity to grow a business, in my own way with the support of everybody else at the company. That's what I enjoy.
Absolutely. That's great. With everything sort of what you were going into with your work, what I'm curious about is, with everything, again, what you've learned through the industry and everything, how are you like you talked about management, how are you managing your crew to be more efficient? What are you implementing sort of as the leader of the group to ensure the efficiency stays high, especially when you get into those later months of the summer where it gets really hot, August and whatnot, leading into another big part of, again, if you're doing fall cleanup, spring cleanup, whatever, leading into those longer days even more. what is it that you're making sure that they're doing to stay efficient? And I don't know if that's the right wording for it, but
Sure.
just the leadership style that you think has worked best for you there.
Yeah, I think it's real important that you set the guys up for success. It definitely helps that I was in the field at one point. I was one of those guys working, running the shovel, running the mower, things like that. Everybody's got to come from somewhere. And I knew one day that, part of going to college, getting a degree and all that stuff was to be in more of a management role. And honestly, the bulk of the things that I learned that I do throughout my day don't even relate to some of the things that maybe I learned along the way. I've had to learn a lot of new things from a management perspective. Like I said, it's dealing with people 90% of the day. With your background to support it. You still have to make the decisions on what fertilizer am I going to use, things like that, which is where you fall back on everything you learned. But as far as being efficient goes, yeah, you got to make sure your guys are set up for success and have a good game plan for them. A lot of the guys we work with are nothing more than laborers. You hope that you have a foreman who's a critical thinker that can solve problems along the way. But at the end of the day, they're showing up to a job and doing what they're told. Happily and then moving on to the next one. There's not much more thinking to them. So you kind of have to set them up for success, making sure there's communication along the lines, making sure they have the right equipment, making sure their routes are efficient. Our territory is so big. We stretch from, north of Baltimore and Towson to, I think we were going all the way down to Prince Frederick in Maryland, east of Annapolis and west out to Centerville, Virginia at one point. So, it's probably like a 300-mile territory or something like that. So a lot of ground to cover.
Centerville?
Yeah.
Whoa. What are you doing down here?
Yeah. One of our construction jobs led to that.
Oh, okay. So, gotcha.
We obviously want to be, closer to home, closer to the shop, cut down on the windshield time, things like that. When the guys get in the morning, all the way to their first stop, they're on the clock, and that those hours got to get billed to somewhere. So, trying to get them in and out the door, making sure they're ready for the day, making a route that makes sense for them. It's tough sometimes because you may have one outlier. Like, when we were going out to Centerville, we had to hit people back in Tysons, Virginia, and back into DC just to kind of make it make sense. And those are things we have to evaluate as we go through our contracts and our clients. Does it make sense to bid this one? Do we have the time and the money built into being able to service this one properly? I think in the past we had been scrambling all over the place and trying to get to all these places that, maybe we weren't giving them the full service they deserve just because it was a crunch for time. But now, with having a route in place and for all these guys, I think this year I'll have 3 or 4 mowing crews and an enhancement crew, to do odds and ends throughout the year. So, right now we're mulching. I think we're spreading like 17,000 bags of mulch this spring, something like that. I forget. We did the math the other day. But it's, you got to manage, crews as far as like, is the foreman there that day? Did everybody show up to work? How many guys you got? The weather, today's a rain day. We didn't get a dang thing done today. And trying to get an idea at the beginning of the year, how many hours you're going to need to complete this, your spring cleanups and mulching, things like that. So it's good. It's tough to manage at first, but now I got a lot of good data after the first couple of years that I can rely back on. I kind of have an idea in my head now. I have stuff on paper and in our system that helps me along the way with that. But yeah, just communicating with the guys, it takes a lot of groundwork to get out there and show them the sites and make sure they understand. If you send your foreman an hour away and just say mulch the place, what are you getting out of that? You got to communicate with them. That's a big part of it. And I think we do a pretty good job of that right now. So just trying to set them up for success, I say would be the biggest part of that.
Absolutely. And you sort of discussed this a little bit already. And I actually looked at the website of the company and everything. A big chunk of the company is, again, that construction and even hardscape. Could you sort of discuss the different projects that you've seen, you've been a part of, and how large a scale it is? Because some of them were phenomenal, but it had to be a lot of time. I mean, probably a week to construct, and the materials are, and it gets very expensive, and it is probably the right word for it. Could you sort of speak to those kind of experiences that you've had with them?
Yeah, for sure. We've done a lot of cool jobs, man. We're on a lot of neat ones right now. We'll do anything, in dollar amounts, just for to try to scale it like a smaller, $100,000, $200,000 job. Maybe it's just some plantings, some sod, things of that sort. And right now, we're on a $1.7 million job that's going to take the better half of the summer into the fall. So we'll run all kind of jobs like that. Each scope's different. Each scope works different. We have a lot of relationships with different builders in the area. The great thing about this area is there will never be a shortage for work. I've never seen anything like it. Coming from up north, Pittsburgh's kind of an older town, a little landlocked, but they're just tearing something down and building something new every day down here, whether it's DC with the surrounding areas. So there's a ton of work. Kind of how the process goes is, we're a landscape contractor. There's a general contractor on the building. They're hiring their plumbers, their electricians, their landscapers the whole way through. We'll get a set of drawings from a landscape architect and be invited to bid a project. We have an estimating department. They'll go through, and Spencer, our lead estimator, he'll bid a project for 2-3 years. Just as they work out the kinks, as they go through revisions, things like that. And, the landscape architect presents a scope of work to us, and we'll say, here's our number. Here's what we can do what we can do the job for. And that's the first start of that. Once we win the work, those guys are great. They're always bringing in new work. We're booked all the way through, like 2022 for the most part, as far as revenue goes and kind of job outlook goes. We're always bringing in new jobs. So then it kind of, once we get the contract done, it kind of then turns over to production, pre-construction. They're all, Courtney's in our pre-construction. She's setting up our project managers for success for the job, what they need. There's a lot of purchasing that goes on, plant purchasing. Some of these jobs have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plants at them. It's plant material, it's pavers, we're so many specialty items. It's like furnishings, it's gas grills, it's fire pits, it's some lighting, it's astroturf, it's seed sod, landscape plants, hardscape, block walls, timber walls, the whole deal, courtyards, rooftops, craning something with a 200-ton crane to a rooftop in DC, shutting down a street in DC for the day. There's a lot that goes in to that process, which is neat. And everybody wears a lot of different hats. I've been able to be on a lot of those projects from my end of things, as the job's about to close out. I'm getting ready to go in and then, bid the maintenance contract for those places. So our install crew, our INS guys will go in and, they'll do a job for the whole summer. And then once we get towards substantial completion of the job, I'll come in, provide the new management team with a proposal to maintain the place moving forward, and try to win that work. Then I go in against a couple other competitors and try to put a number to it as well. That's probably my biggest gateway, entry into another client is having the install work. So yeah, it's a lot of moving parts. We've done a lot of cool jobs, a lot of proud work that we've accomplished. You can see it on the website. We need to get some of them updated. We've done some amazing jobs since. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's cool. It's something different every day.
Yeah, and some of the work, and if that's old, that your work's impressive. I mean, it's insane, and I love how you explained how deep it really goes. Like you're talking 3 years out.
Yeah.
Something to go along with that. You hit the head on the nail on the head or whatever it is, hammer, whatever. I can't talk. Sorry. Northern Virginia, Maryland, the DC area is just ever changing. And with all this opportunity and everything that goes into it, you're talking about, you have a job for 1.7 million right now. what is the decision-making process for that for you guys? And you were talking a little bit about it. I was like, is this worth it with traveling and all that? What is the decision-making process on, say, there's a job near home base and whatnot? What are you guys trying to expect? What is it that you're trying to determine in order to actually take that job or take the time, effort, energy of 3 years to win a bid of something like, say, like an entryway to a new skyscraper or something? What is your decision making process? And I'm sure there's so many different people in the room for that. But if you could sort of give us a little insight on how the company makes that decision.
Yeah, man, we'll try to take just about all the work we can get. We're trying to book things throughout this, still the end of this year, but we're already booked for the bulk of 2021. We like the jobs close to home. I think our estimators can be a little more competitive with from a price standpoint when you got a job closer to home versus far away. We just finished a job down in Richmond, Virginia, at Everly Short Pump Mall. It's per diem built in. The guys are down there for a month or two, living in a hotel for the week, things like that. It's tough. Getting materials and whatnot shipped down there, having the project managers make the trip down there. Those are a challenge, but if the price is right, if we can use the work, we're going after it aggressively. I think it's not so much choosing the work we can get. Maybe we'd steer away from something if it's a little out of our realm or I don't know, or if it's just too far away. We've done work in PA, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, DC, a pretty big territory. So we'll go after just about anything.
Sort of going off of that, with the maintenance, and you were sort of talking to the fact afterwards, how do you specifically with maintenance, say it's not on a job site that you constructed, what is your sort of approach to that? And maybe you've talked about the bidding and everything, if you could sort of discuss how you create the bid to be somewhat competitive with the people that you're facing up against in the bidding process.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough because we're still on a smaller scale to where some of the other big competitors in the area, your Brightview's, your Rupert's, your Level Greens that are maintenance driven companies. Some of them, they triple, more than triple our revenue each year. They can come in and kind of low, they can get a client for cheaper than I can up front because they can absorb the cost into such, so those are all things to think of. As far as when I'm bidding a site, my favorite are, like I said, our construction contracts, because not only do we have the initial relationship, but I also have the measurements of the site, right? Our estimators did the takeoff, they bid it. We know to the square inch how much mulch is there, turf. So I have real data to work off of. When I go on a cold call to somewhere, I just locked in a new client in Columbia, 2 properties, with an existing portfolio management company, but 2 brand new sites. I go out and I take a look at them myself. Normally there's a property manager, somebody that wants to walk with you. Normally they're trying to get 2 or 3 bids so they can price shop and try to see, what's the best bang for their buck. It always helps to have a relationship, back to the networking thing. This is a great example. I had just gotten 2 new sites. We had already had a portfolio open with them, had been doing a good job. An opportunity came up where they wanted an enhancement done. I showed up for the enhancement and I said, hey, can I bid your maintenance contract while I'm here? And they said, yeah, we're actually looking for somebody. So, I walk the site, I take a look at what we're dealing with. I try to get some measurements. We have a cool software that we use from almost like a Google Earth system where we can measure out plant beds, measure out turf areas, kind of get an idea of square footages. And then we use a contracting system on our computer that helps estimate all that. So part of wearing a lot of hats at the company, I'll do everything from sales to estimating to production, which is cool. It keeps things interesting. So, I'll take all that data, I'll take it back to our system, and I'll normally review it with James, our VP, or Eric, our president, or somebody, and just go through my numbers. We try to make sense out of where it's at. And it's essentially material and labor in what I'm doing. The bulk of my division is labor. It's a labor intensive. Maintenance is labor intensive versus construction's a lot more material intensive. So, my big labor costs is mulch, and it's, just fertilizers, some annuals, things like that, equipment costs. So we take all that into effect and into account. And I try to put a number towards it. We kind of have an idea when you see the site after doing so many. Yeah, it's a $20,000 job. That one's fine. You can kind of get a gauge over the past couple of years of what it is, but then you want to be competitive with your numbers. So, if you can make something work at a price point that is going to work for the client, sometimes you get negotiations. Sometimes you don't even get any feedback. Sometimes you get a lot of great feedback and they'll want to work with you. There's all kind of different clients out there. We like the feedback. I'm trying to nail down my price points so that I can be competitive on more of these bids now. And I think we're having more success in doing so. After I got all the groundwork going to the point where I can now scale the business, now I'm really getting into the sales side of things this year, which has been good. So yeah, all those things go into effect. I think, we obviously start with the mowing. Some places don't even have mowing. We just have rooftops in DC with just mulch and plants. Back to the services I mentioned in the beginning that we offer, we touch on all those things. We'll kind of customize it however they want. Some people want 2 fertilizers. Some people want 4 applications. Some people want, a weeding every week. Some people want to touch up mulching in the fall. Another thing that makes us competitive, having, the customer relations, customer service side of things, kind of customizing, their contract to what the client wants, what makes sense for us, putting hours to it, putting a budget to it, and then just going from there and trying to keep that in place over a span of a couple of years.
To expand on talking about the clients, how has your personal experience been when dealing with them, and how have you met their standards, and what do you do if you aren't able to meet their standards or they don't like your work?
Yeah, it happens. You get all kind of clients, all kind of people out there. I like to think that the better portion of mine are great people to work with. That's something I enjoy, meeting new people, having those relationships, and just, when you're in the service industry and any type of service, the client's always first, right? They're the paying customer. What can you do to meet their needs? So you try to meet their needs. Sometimes maybe they're unrealistic, and you do your best. And sometimes, you just come up short to whether it's their expectations, whether it wasn't, a realistic expectation. Things like that happen. A big thing that happens too in kind of the property management industry is people are always changing and moving on to jobs. You'll have a place for 2-3 years and have a great, outstanding relationship with the manager, and then they take a new job, and someone comes new in, they want to start over, they want a new company in there, and things like that happen that are unexpected. So, you rely on having those relationships as you're trying to build, expectations revenue wise for the following year, things like that. But you'll have that where, somebody moves on. We like to think that we do a great job at all of our properties, and I don't think we've ever lost a property just based off of bad service. You hope that never happens. Blips happen out there in the field. You're going to have adversity that you kind of have to adapt to. Take some extra steps, spend a little extra money, spend a little extra time to get things right. Like I said, at the end of the day, they're the client, and you want to give them the best product at the end of the day so that you can retain it. It's all about retainage in the end and having that relationship. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of that is, it happens. You'll lose somebody here and there. You try to gain more than you lose, but we're trying to build on some better contracts as of late, things that make sense, expand on portfolios. That's your advantage really in this industry, is who you know. And a lot of our work comes from reoccurring builders, reoccurring property managers, things like that.
So sort of going into, you were discussing how you used a sort of software for bidding and stuff like that. And not just in and I'm not saying it's office work, but what have you seen in your time, some technological advancements that you've been able to implement in your business? Maybe it's some type of mowers, things that have changed over time, like attachment on mowers. I know Toro just came out with a mulching, I guess a pro mulch or something, where it has a dump on the front of, say, a grandstand. What kind of technological advancements have you been able to use in the field, whether or the bidding software, stuff like that? What is it E Landscape has been able to use to better optimize their work?
Yeah. I mean, stuff's always changing. Everybody's trying to one up each other in the technology world across all platforms. In the turf world, I think more in the turf world, you have more specialized equipment for what you're doing. So you'll see a lot of advancements on the machines. A lot of guys are old school. A lot of guys are all about the new stuff and analytics. It's all kind of personal preference. In terms of what we do, I brought in some new mowers today. I mean, I'm sure they're just advancing over time. We're trying to have the best equipment we can. When the company was started 13 years ago, I'm sure things that looked a lot different as far as our fleet, our trucks, things like that. Our processes is a huge part of it. Just how we go day to day about what we do. At the shop, out in the field, things like that. That's always advancing. And I guess something specialized for my division. I'm looking at back to the efficiency thing, like a ride-on aerator with a built-on seed box, things like that. You're doing two guys' job at the speed of one, or maybe even faster than one. You're going from somebody with a walk-behind aerator and somebody with walk-behind spreader to one guy on a hydraulic run, self-propelled aerator with a seed hopper filling right behind it. Things like that can help speed up, productivity. And back to having the right equipment and stuff, trying to do, when you have sites that are real far away, one big thing we're focusing on this year in terms of being efficient are trying to get as much work done as you can while you're on site in one mobilization. So if you're mobilizing to mow, can you weed, can you edge, can you put out a fert all together? And kind of bundle that versus making the 1 hour trip 3-4 different times to do all four of those services. 2 hour drive times 4 guys in the truck, that's 8 hours you're paying guys just in windshield time. So your average crew, at your average crew wage, your labor rate's going way up. So if we can use a piece of equipment that's gonna expedite that, we're all about it.
Could you explain what a normal day of your work would look like?
Yeah, I try to set. I'm at the point now where I can kind of work with my schedule, set things up at the beginning of the week or the end of the previous week. I'll kind of get a outline of what I need to get done for the week. When you're out running around to all the sites like I am, running enhancements or helping people out here or there, things can sneak up on you quick. Deadlines or stuff you need to get done at your desk can sneak up on you. So I try to structure it where, I'll always look at the weather for the week. Today's a good example. We had a big rain day today, like a couple inches of rain. And I knew that going into the week. So I just kind of set Wednesday aside for a day where I can, get a lot of stuff done at my desk. The weather kind of sucks where, I'm gonna bang some things out at my desk. So I'll try to lay my week out like that. Meetings are a big thing that you got to work around. When can the property managers meet if they need to meet with you? You try to work around them as well and build your schedule. So I'm a real schedule oriented guy. So I think a lot of my day, a lot of my week is built off of that. I'm a morning person too, and I like to, get as much stuff done early in the morning as I can. So I can do podcasts with Drew in the afternoon, things like that. Anyway, a normal day, man, I'm at my desk in the morning doing, we'll start off with payroll. We all, like I said, wear a lot of hats. So I'll do everything from payroll and timesheets in the morning for the guys, getting them set up from a production standpoint, getting them dispatched to the right place for the day. Then maybe I'll work on some sales, some estimating, things like that at my desk, till like mid morning. Then I'll head out there to the site, whether I have to help the guys with enhancement, go try to get some info for a bid, meet with the client, things like that. I'll kind of let those go into the latter part of the day. But it's tough to nail down what I do every day because it's so different. And that's what I love about the job.
Awesome. And we can do podcasts whenever you want, Phil. No problem. You were talking about how the company's around 13 years old, and from what once was to is now. Like, again, you're talking those mowers you showed me this morning. I was excited to see it. What is the company's future hopes? Are you looking to build, like, obviously they brought you in for a specific purpose and you've delivered on that, and you're developing even more and more with the maintenance side. So obviously that's sort of a goal that they have. Is there anything past that? Are you looking to start a whole lawn care division on top of the maintenance? Is there hopes to do different things where installs become just a regular contract throughout all of it? Anything along those lines? What do you know of any hopes for the business moving forward? Again, it's a family-owned business. It's growing. You have $1.7 million contracts. What is the future hold for eLandscape?
Yeah, the future's bright, man. It's exciting. That was one of the things that got me here. Being a small-owned family business, our president Eric Drenner, fantastic guy. He scaled the business himself from his garage to a multi-million-dollar company in the DC area, and hats off to him. An awesome guy to work for. Goes full circle. We just love it's easy to work hard for people who appreciate you. Like I said, it goes full circle. So in terms of he's scaled the company to this point. We're continuing to grow every year. We took a big leap last year and took on a lot more work. Within the company itself, we're sticking to the maintenance, we're sticking to the install. This year, for example, we're starting to do a little more in-house irrigation work, things like that. Those are things we can build on. We're maybe one day we'll have a fully functioning irrigation division versus subcontracting it out to somebody else. It saves us time and money in some aspects. Right now we're just in the beginning phases of that. I think the past couple months we've took on a few irrigation projects, so that's something we see growing. Obviously I'm trying to grow my division to complement the maintenance, the install division. The good thing about maintenance is it's kind of predicted revenue, and it's monthly revenue that you can rely on. When you have a 12-month contract, say you got $12,000 contract divided by your 12 months of the year, you can rely on that $1,000 a month, in terms of revenue. So, our accounting people, they love that, knowing that we have that money, that cash flow. It's tough when you get on some of these big jobs. A lot of them, that they're all done in phases where, once the plants get installed, then we can bill for that. It's progress billing. So, it gets tricky, then the GC will hold money in retainage, things like that. So it's, you're relying on that for your revenue, but in terms of maintenance, you're getting that money and you're bringing back that customer base. With install, you're relying on winning a bid, and continuously winning bids. So we're definitely trying to grow the maintenance division. I see it taking off. We're in the very early stages of that, and it's a great opportunity. In terms of the company, we're just going to keep on keeping on. And, we started at a couple $100,000. Now we're multi-million. Who knows where we go from here. So it's a good group of people. The best thing is we're all young, man. The bulk of the people there, I think I'm the youngest one at 23, but the bulk of the people 20, 30, early 40s, a lot of young people in powerful positions that have an opportunity to grow for a lot of years to come.
Switching it up from the company's future, what are your future aspirations and personal goals in your career?
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I guess my goals a couple years ago were probably a lot different than they are now as far as where I saw myself. You kind of just take what life gives you, how you end up here. just see what happens. I just kind of see what happens day to day. It's hard to really plan for. Things can change in the blink of an eye. I want to set myself up successfully, and have a stable job, have stability, financial stability, and try to be, tenured at a company as long as I can. I see myself, I could work here for the rest of my life if I wanted to, which is a great thing to say. Some people may not be able to say that, but if something comes up and it's meant for me to take another road, then it may happen. But it's hard to predict. I love the spot I'm in right now. I'm always trying to plan for the future, but I'm still so young that it's tough to really know where we're going. But I have a great future, hopefully at E-Landscape, and that's what I'm planning on for right now.
Schedule. We got to work on the scheduling, right? With that, you are a very young person. You're younger than me, which I thought we were close. I thought we were close to the same age at least. I feel old. Thanks for that. Can you speak to, again, the kids that are on this call are high schoolers who are a lot of them are interested in the industry. Could you sort of speak to the opportunity there is if they're interested in landscaping and sort of what they could possibly enter, say, working for an E-Landscape in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would tell all you guys that this right here is an example of just a great opportunity for all of you. I wish I would have had a turf program in high school. I loved, the wood shops, the classes, the hands-on classes that was where my interest was. So I would have loved something like turf. The fact that the more people we can get interested in this industry, the better. It's a great industry to be in. It's always going to be here. That's a huge thing. It's going to be here forever. I think you all have a great opportunity to really just have a very broad range of what you can do. I know so many guys that went to Penn State, have a turf degree, but do a million different things. I'm working at a landscape company. Someone's working at Heinz Field. Someone's selling fertilizer. Someone's selling equipment. Guys are researchers. There's no really limit to what you can do, with a background in agriculture, essentially. So maybe, you take this class and you love it and you want to take a similar path to kind of what I did. All the power to you. Maybe you want to take a complete change of pace. I mean, I think it's like 80% of kids now in college change their major, which is nuts to me. Putting all that work and switching it up. But at the end of the day, it don't make sense for you. It doesn't make sense. And it's a lot of time and money and commitment. So like I said, I didn't know if I wanted to go into, a construction union, things like that. You'll kind of find your place, but always make sure you're doing what you love, because it's important. You don't want to just go through the motions every day. Time's just taken away. So what's the point of, wasting it on something where you're not happy? Don't be afraid to make the change. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask help. Like I said, back to the connections thing, there's a million people you can rely on. And you always want to just start building, a good name, a good reputation for yourself. It starts with just working hard, putting the effort forward. You don't got to be the brightest kid in the room. Exhibit A. The guys at Penn State will be the first one to tell you. I don't know if you've talked to Dr. McNitt or not, but he would always say, Phil got a C on my last exam, but he's here talking to every single person he can find at STMA. And it was true. I put my best effort forward to all my academics and I learned a ton, but it was kind of the things that supplemented that really helped. And I think a big part of this industry is learning hands-on, which is great. It's important to have the knowledge in the classroom behind why you're doing what you do, but you can get so much of that experience out there working. So I would encourage any internships you can get, any job shadowing, even if it's something like that. And it doesn't have to be at a pristine place. I went through college with so many of these kids, and sorry, I keep dropping it. I went through college with so many of these guys that they wanted to work at, the Oakmont Country Clubs, the Augusta Nationals, the Heinz Fields. And man, I worked with Matt Neary for 4 years at the State College Spikes, single A, small stadium, no budget, things like that. And that's where I got my experience from. You learn so much. It's such a wide range of where you can go, what you can do, and don't be afraid to take a chance in something. If you got something in mind that you want to do, go after it. You're going to find that it might change along the way. This certainly isn't what I planned on, but here I am. I couldn't be any happier. So it's a great opportunity, and I would use Drew, and I'm sure you've met a ton of people. You've heard a ton of people on here talk already. Use them as resources. More times than not, people are looking for work rather than you looking for a job with them. And everybody talks. Everybody knows who needs somebody. You may reach out to Matt Brown looking for work, but he'll tell you that Chris Ecton down the river needs help. So you just never know where things are going to go. And the toughest thing to find in this industry is labor. I'll tell you that. It's the hardest thing to find. And if you're willing to start somewhere and work up and not be, too proud of, what you're doing on the job site or what your title is or position is, you're going to make advances from there on up. So, I start out with a shovel in my hand, digging holes in the hot middle of the summer. And now I'm in a management role where, I sit behind a desk in khakis and a polo most days of the week. So it's a progression. It's may go quicker for some than other. There's a wide range of things you can do, but take it all in, find what you like and run with it, and use the people around you as resources, because at the end of the day, that's who's going to pull you through.
We did have Dr. McNeil on. He had nothing but nice things to say about you, because we talked about you.
Episode.
He said Nolan was kind of a kook, but
Well, yeah,
I heard Nolan's up with you, right?
I brought Nolan down here. Yeah, he's
with these
now.
He's with E Landscaping. Oh man, that's gotta be crazy.
Yeah, we're always looking for good people. We want to have.
You pick Nolan.
We picked Nolan out of all of them. Yeah, he's got a cool role with us. He's working. He again wears a lot of different hats. He's kind of helping with the end of the construction phase, the punch out phase, getting things turned over. We kind of had a weird period where we would go from finishing a job and closing out and getting paid to then turning it over turnkey to a maintenance company. So things would there'd be months during the growing season in there where there wouldn't be any attention to the site, whether it was irrigation, whether it was mowing, things like that would kind of get out of hand. So we're kind of bringing him in to help with that aspect of getting the job closed out, working on plant material warranties, things like that, but also using his knowledge just in the industry in all kind of areas, whether it's production, project management, doing a lot of work with equipment and the trucks. That was kind of his thing, rather than the turf that was growing, he was more excited about the machines we were using on it. So, trying to just cater to those, those strengths of people is what we do. So, I think he's got a very new role as of like November. We're working him in and going to make something great out of everybody.
Yeah, he's like a sponge, honestly, and it's funny because it's crazy. When I worked with him for the first time, I was like, "How do you know all this? You've been here like for a summer, and you like know everything." So, and he's like a jackrabbit going all over the place. I think he was in a field construction company, and then he was landscaping, then he was back at Heinz, and I can't keep up with him. Great guy. You were sort of discussing this, and I love the fact that you guys hired him in the sense of like the punch out, sort of the end of the line, making sure everything is set. Business management is a huge part of landscaping that I wouldn't say is like not part of the sports turf or golf side of everything. What kind of background did you have, or has it been, again, like I said, hands-on, sort of learning all those different things? What is it that you have been able to sort of develop on your own to put into your maintenance division of the company when it comes to your business management practices?
Yeah, there's expectations to be met in every category of the industry. When we were at Heinz Field, you're meeting the expectations of the players, of the coaches, of the equipment staff, of the owner, all the way up to the owner of Mr. Rooney. So there's different expectations that need to be met on every job. In terms of what they are, they change obviously by the job description. I'm now meeting the expectations of my clients, honoring my contracts and services that are built into there. I think in terms of business management, just making sure that you honor their request, are upfront with them, honest with them, quick in response, client first all the time, things like that make your customer service can really boost your division or your company. That's a huge part of things. In landscape, you're now meeting with general contractors, with property managers, with superintendents, with subcontractors. There's a lot of hands involved to get one of these jobs done, from the day you win the bid and you got your first meeting with the GC on the job, to then having the irrigation sub come in and working with them, to then working with suppliers, bringing in plant material and your supplies. There's a lot of people that you got to work with, a lot of deadlines to meet, a lot of expectations to meet, and you want to turn out a quality product at the end of the day. That's what we strive for. So that's what I would say. Just try to meet everybody's expectations, exceed everyone's expectations if you can, and set your team up for success and turn out a quality product.
Absolutely. And sort of like you and Nolan are both jack of all trades. Again, you talked about all the different experience you've had. And through that, obviously you've learned so much that goes into your work. And again, going from sports turf and transitioning to landscaping, if there was something you could tell yourself when you first started from all of sort of your experiences that would have, I'm not saying it would have made it easier, but would have been nice to know in a sense, what would that one thing be, and how would that sort of impact sort of how you have either conducted yourself, impacted your career in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, sure. I don't know what I would have told myself. If we're talking just like specific rather than broad picture,
You can do both. You can do both.
Yeah, a big part of what I do now is, my degree was very turf based. Now, I do a lot of plant based things where I'm IDing trees, shrubs, perennials, things like that. We kind of glimpsed on that in this College of Turf Science, whether it was through like a landscape class or a supporting class, but it wasn't really the focus. The management practices kind of remain the same for anything living and growing, so you can kind of make common sense out of it. That the same things that apply for growing turf grass kind of apply for trees and shrubs. But I do wish I would have, and it's taken a while to learn, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you half the plants I know out there now. I mean, there's just 10 million types of trees and shrubs in the world, and you go somewhere and everybody's going to ask you, what's this? Well, what's that? Well, what's this thing? Why isn't it living? So that's one thing, I've had to learn on, my own, or with the help of the people at eLandscape. It hasn't been too tough. It's not like a make or break deal, but maybe I would have took another class or something like that in college. But in the big picture, I don't know that I would have done anything different. I'm here for a reason that I ended up this way, and I'm happy with where I'm at. So a lot of great people along the way, a lot of good lessons learned, and everything that has happened since the day I took the first step into the industry has got me to this point. So
Absolutely. And you and I had two different college experiences, because I was the one walking around dealing with all the classes. There were multiple tree classes. It wasn't just
right.
All the forsythias and all the Chamaecyparis and we won't go back to those days. But I do love how you pointed out there's so much more to it, especially when it comes to landscaping wise, understanding specific aspects. And everybody does want to know, honestly. That's never going to go away, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would recommend too, like just for your own good, like outside of work too, in college, or high school, whatever, if you can take like we had to take some management classes and stuff. I've always kind of been good in that aspect with working with people and managing, but like in terms of personal stuff too, like take some finance classes, help yourself out. That's one thing that they don't teach enough of. At least we didn't learn in school. We learned a lot about, ancient, history and all that stuff, but no one ever told you how to file your taxes, right? In high school. Maybe they do it at your school, but those things too are just beneficial. You're there, you're getting a degree, you need the credits. A lot of the credits in a 4-year degree don't necessarily apply to turf management, which, kind of always bugged me. What am I taking this class for? I'm here for turf. But at the same time, if you have a school that offers a wide range of things, take advantage of it. Take a personal finance class, learn where, so that when you show up to a job for the first day and they ask how much money you want to put aside for for your taxes, or, when you want to start up your 401k, what those things mean. Because it's a big jump from when you go from living in college into the real world. I'm trying to buy a house right now, things like that. They're just good to know when you're out there on your own. So I would have taken a little more of that too. Luckily, my dad always kept me in the loop on all that stuff, so I felt prepared. But yeah, that's another thing I could recommend. Take a finance class, take a management class if you think you're going to be in a position like me someday. And support, just don't just stick right to your, your topic or your direct major, but try to support, the rest of your life with some of the courses you're taking or experiences you're getting out there.
Absolutely. I think it was Matt Brown who told me, who was like, he got a double major at Ohio State in business management. So he's like, if you can do something along the lines, definitely do that, because when you schedule your classes, you can sort of set up with your advisor saying, hey, instead of doing all these electives with this, can I do with business? And then work with the business people and say, hey, my electives will count towards both. So yeah. And I do think, Matt, and what you're saying now is critical to understand as young kids who are entering college and entering the world. It is a huge upside, and sort of to that, the state of Virginia video education department, Department of Education. I don't know why I'm speaking like that. It's a graduation requirement to take a personal financing class now, which again,
Yeah.
I think it does wonders, because in high school I was like, swipe, swipe, swipe.
Yeah.
Wait, where did all my money go? Stuff like that. So again, that is huge, and I do appreciate you saying that. We sort of wrap it up with the same kind of question, and this isn't pertaining to just landscaping, to horticulture, turf, agriculture, whatever it is. Just sort of anything with with our kids moving forward. What would be your words of wisdom? Maybe it's carrying yourself a certain way, understanding what the world has to offer. Could you just sort of speak to what you would say to them that would help prepare them for that next chapter in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big jump from high school into the next phase of your life, whether it's college, whether it's a trade, whether it's a job right out of high school, whatever you're doing, an internship. And then from there, it's the next big jump into your first, big time real job. Take it all in, meet as many people as you can, but always carry yourself with a good attitude and a good work ethic. The last thing you want is a bad reputation, because part of a tight network can really help you out, but it can really hurt you too. If you want to mess around out there. But the better reputation you carry, just based on your work ethic, your willingness to learn, to work with other people, it's going to go a long way. That's something I always tried to focus on. Don't ever be too proud of what you know as well. There's always something you can learn. You're always going to be able to take the next step and learn something new. You're never going to know it all. And a lot of people that you're going to work for right off the bat have been there doing it a heck of a lot longer than you have. So trust them, take their knowledge for what it's worth, carry it to the next phase of your life, whatever you're doing. You're going to, if you start small, work your way up. There's no shame in that. Everybody's got to put forth the hard work up front, and kind of find what you like to do, whether it's a career choice, a lifestyle choice, kind of like I took, feel the industry out, get to as many different areas of it as you can. try to find somewhere that's that wants to work with you in those areas of giving you the experience of doing a multitude of things while you're there on the job. If you put forth the effort now, it's going to pay off in the end. I've always been a hands-on learner, and I think the bulk of the industry can really be from getting out there and learning and doing it and seeing it. I had a lot of friends in college who would be sitting in class, they'd be an A+ student, they'd be able to tell you every ingredient in Primo and when to apply it, but they never poured it in a sprayer and drove it out on the field. You know what I mean? And those things are important. You can know the whole science behind it, but how do you turn the boom on, things like that. Just try to get as much experience as you can. Experiences was always my biggest thing, and it's made me, I think, a well-rounded person. It makes you competitive when you're fighting for a job. It makes you a well-rounded person in the industry. And use your network, use your connections. Use Drew, use anyone you've met on the show, use me if you'd like. Everybody's willing to help another out, which is a great part of the industry. Like I said, people are always looking for work. I went down there to Heinz Field on my first day, with my resume, all proud of it and everything, the couple jobs I'd had in high school. And I don't even think Chris looked at it. He needed help. He saw a decent person in the 10, 15 minutes we spent down there. I was willing to show up and work hard, and they were willing to give me a go. So, it doesn't have to be, your accolades, your resume. Sometimes people just want someone who's going to show up and work hard, and you can take the next step. I know people maybe who even, not even finished out a degree, but, they're still, I'm not going to push you to go to college or tell you it's the right thing. I think it certainly helped me and was an advantage. Could I have gotten here without it? Maybe, I don't know. It makes you, it makes you more competitive in the world for sure, especially if you go and change professions. Just the experience overall is great. That was kind of the last portion of my life was college. And now I'm kind of just getting into, everybody calls it the real world. I enjoy it more. I don't have any homework tonight, show up, I work, and I was working all through school. I had 15, 16 credits a semester, would work 30, 40 hours a week if I could, still try to have time to have fun and live the college life on top of that. And, we made it work, and it paid off in the end. So just try to do as much as you can, always be proactive. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Be a sponge, like Drew mentioned earlier. The more you can soak in now, the more marketable you are for the rest of the industry. And the more it's going to help you in the future. But you got a great opportunity. I wish I would have had a high school turf class, man. Guys have gotten to talk to some of the best people in the business, from all the podcasts I've seen at least listed. Those are the people leading the charge, and they learned from the people ahead of them, So yeah, just taking as much as you can, and hopefully you find something you like. Hopefully you stick with it. We need more young people taking on this industry. I think it's starting to grow, for sure. And, a lot of great schools out there offering a lot of great classes, whether it's Penn State, whether it's Tech, whether it's, anybody that offers turf or agriculture. You don't have to go in with a degree or a plan to get a degree in something either and come out with the same career path. Or, you may think you're going for sports turf freshman year, and by senior year, you got a job at a landscape company. So it's a very versatile industry, being just agriculture in general. There's just a wide range of opportunity out there.
Well, that speaks volumes to who you are, Phil, and getting to know you over the years and whatnot, especially with Chris. And I think Chris did a pretty fantastic job of sort of instilling that in all of us. I know my thing with Chris when we were first starting with him. I think the front office people would get mad because he would be out mowing lawns with us with a push mower outside the building. So again, no job's too big for who he was. And again, sort of emulating that and seeing your success and where you're at now is awesome. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to my kids, and it's been a blast and a lot of great educational pieces for my kids. So I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. It's been great. I made sure I heard out what the Matt Browns and the Chris Dectons and all them had to say before I got on here. But yeah, if I can do anything for you guys, let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. I'm young, but I know a lot of people out there that may just be able to help putting a word in. Like I said, everybody's looking for young, hungry people. So if I can do anything for you or you guys, let me know. Be happy to help. And thanks for having me on.
What do you guys say?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.